If you're looking for a podcast that packs in sound property advice, as well as offering you an insight into making the world of property effective and ultimately work for you, you're in the right place. Hosted by Arsh, the original property rebel. He's written an Amazon bestseller, created the Property Investor app, the UK's first, and is an experienced property mentor. More importantly, he talks the talk and walks the walk.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of The Property Rebel with your host, Arsh. And in today's session, we're going to be talking about the benefits of a real power team and everything that they can do to make your property journey a hell of a lot smoother. Now, before we get started, I want to say a quick hello to all new subscribers to the channel, and hopefully you enjoy the content and hopefully you're listening to all the sessions and you're taking some real benefit from them. Now, as always, this is a one-take recording, so you may hear some if, ums and ahs, and maybe even some pauses, but that's part of what makes us special. So, let's get us straight into it. So what is a power team? So people talk about power teams in the property industry, and sometimes we think, well, what is a power team? I like to think of this, or I define this as go-to people with experience in their field. So I can't proclaim to be a property investor and know everything about tax and about accounting and about the legal side of it, and also about the building side of it as well. So I like to have specific people that I can pick up the phone to, and these are people that I can simply pick up the phone to and ask for advice anytime that I'm looking at a property or if I've got an issue with a property. And I'll give you some real life examples as to how this has really benefited me, especially on a couple of projects that I've done recently. So I've broken it down into two kind of categories. One, a power team for buying a property, and then a power team for maintaining a property, because I think they're two completely different teams, but you've still got to have them within your grasp so that everyone knows what they're doing. So let's get straight into, if you're buying a property and you've seen a property and you're interested, you can't call an estate agent part of your power team, because unfortunately, let's face it, every estate agent is out for themselves. They're only there for their own commission, and whether you buy the property off them or not, they're not really too fussed, because they've got probably lots of other buyers as well. So I don't really classify an estate agent as a power team, but it is good to have an agent that you can sometimes pick up the phone to and literally clarify some values. So in Wolverhampton, which is where I'm based, I've got lots of agents where I can pick up the phone, and one agent in particular, his name's David. I go, hi Dave, how are you? Blah, 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 small talk, small talk, small talk. By the way, I'm looking at this property in this location. I'm buying it for, let's say, £100,000. I've seen some other comparables on Rightmove at circa 130. What do you reckon? And what he will do, he'll start to look at places like Rightmove Plus, which is a back end which all estate agents have access to. And they start to look at all the statistics for the area. How many properties were listed? How many properties got taken down? How many properties were listed and sold, and how much they sold for? Because they've got access to this data. So they are part of my power team in that respect. Now, if I decide to buy a property, naturally I need a solicitor, and I also need a mortgage advisor. Before I instruct the solicitor, I make sure that I've got my funding in place. So a mortgage advisor is my next person to call. I want to know that we can structure this deal correctly so it's benefiting all parties involved. So I've got very good mortgage advisors on board where I can literally pick up the phone to him and I'll say to him, Simon, hi, yeah, I'm looking at this property. Here's what the property is. So I'll give you an example of a block of flats. So we bought a block of flats back in 2019. Well, in actual fact, in 2018, 2019, we went on a bit of a spending spree. I think we bought the best part of 80 flats, which was broken down into separate blocks. And we looked at the best way of structuring them. So there's one block of flats where I was buying two houses next door to each other in the heart of Wolverhampton, and each house has got 5 flats in. So in total, we're buying 10 flats, both off the same owner. So I spoke to him, I said, well, here's what we're looking at. And he goes, Arsh, he goes, okay, how much are you paying for it? And I said, 500,000, £500,000. And we went and done all the comparables. We looked at all the sizes. And this is my broker, by the way. This is my mortgage broker, my financial advisor. And And he goes, okay, Arsh, he goes, to be fair, I think we can get this valued up at circa around 600 or 620. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. And he showed me all the comparables that he thought that we could do that. And we ended up buying that property with his advice, declaring everything to all lenders and everyone in place. But we ended up only putting down a 10% deposit. And that is the beauty. That guy saved me the best part of 75,000, because when I was looking to buy it, I thought that I would have to put down a deposit of 125,000. In actual fact, we only actually ended up putting a deposit of 50,000, which allowed me funds to go and buy more and more property. So this was a real benefit to having him on my team. We managed to purchase that property based on a 10% deposit, based on the fact that we were buying it quite well below market value. And I should say that there are mortgage brokers and then there are strategic mortgage brokers. I've got strategic mortgage brokers which look at the way that they can get me in, so get me into the deal, but also get me out of the deal. When I say get me out of the deal is if I've seen a property, let's just say a HMO, and I'm looking to refinance it against its commercial ability 6 months later down the line, my broker will look at say, Arsh, okay, well, we need to get you in, but also I'm assuming you want to get your money back out in 6 months down the line, and here's what we need to do. Here's the lender that we need to use to get you in, and here's the lender that's going to get me out. Lots of financial advisors or brokers won't do that. I'd pretty much say as high as 95% of them won't really understand. They're thinking about it short term. They're only thinking about getting you in. Now, if I go to a normal mortgage broker, they probably would have made me pay the 25% deposit because they don't really understand the investment style of property. And they probably would have put me on a 2 to 5 year fixed product, because chances are that that's where they're making most of their fees. Now, I say this, and if you're listening to this and you're a mortgage advisor, please don't take this to heart. But lots of advisors will look at products which make them the most fees. And to be fair, that's their business, that's their model, that's great. But from me as an investor, I'm looking at what suits me. I need to be able to get in and get out. And if the broker doesn't understand that, then they're not right. They're not the person that I really want to deal with. Because what will happen is that they will give me ill advice. As a result of that, all my money will be tied up into one property, which will stop me in my tracks and in my journey. So mortgage broker or mortgage advisor or financial advisor, depending on what you want to call them, will be one of the most important people to have in your team. Now, on top of that, you need a very good solicitor. And the reason why is because solicitors can be an absolute pleasure to deal with or the bane of your life. And if you're listening to this, I bet lots of people are nodding their head. And the reason being is that they can either make a transaction super swift or super painful. And I've seen them both. I've seen solicitors that have cost me deals. I've seen solicitors that have made deals an absolute dream. Now, I've got solicitors that only work for me. And when I say only work for me, sorry, they're what I would consider my personal solicitors, because we use them pretty much on a day-to-day basis. And they're an absolute dream. They don't, lots of solicitors are still handwriting letters or sending letters in the post. All my stuff gets done via email or DX, and everything gets done quickly within a timely manner. If there's questions that need to be asked, my guys are on it straight away. They answer everything that comes in straight away, and we get deals done within spaces, sometimes days, if not weeks. And that's what kind of puts us above the rest, especially when we're negotiating. I could say to them, guys, I'll put you in contact with David. David will confirm my instructions straight away, and we can get this ball rolling straight away. My solicitor will be onto your solicitor, asking where's the contract paperwork, asking for all the documents before you guys have even prepared it. So a solicitor is also very good in the fact that they cover your backside. They read every single detail, and they make sure that they don't forget anything like any covenants in place, or if there's any issues regarding the title of the property. If you go to a factory, and there are lots of solicitor factories out there where they are just conveyancing machines, they may help you with one or two. They won't be the way going forward. They're expensive and they're very slow. and you won't always get to speak to and deal with the same person over and over. With my guy David, I've got that personal relationship. Believe it or not, if I've got some documents that need signing, David will come to my house at 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening and we'll sign them there. He'll take photocopies of my ID, which he's always got on file anyway. And we get deals done. That's how things are done. If I go to a normal solicitor, I'd probably have to book an appointment somewhere between Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and that doesn't always suit me, just purely because I'm always busy as well. So David will say, you know what, I'll tell you what, if you've got a busy day, I'll come to your house, 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening. I'll just get you to quickly sign what you need to sign, and away he goes. Very simple. You need to have that kind of relationship with all these people on your power team. They've got to work for you. You've got to work for them. You've got to try and generate them some business. They've also got to work with you. They've got to work around you, your lifestyle, and how you expect them to work. Now, some say that I'm quite demanding, and I don't mind saying that because I get stuff done. I do get stuff done. If you ask my PA, if you ask my 2 virtual assistants, I get stuff done. I fire out stuff to them every day, and I expect that stuff to be done. Now, we've talked about mortgage brokers. We've talked about solicitors. Next person is architect. Now, the reason why I say an architect, I've got an architect that I've been using for 20 years now, and he's never got me a refusal. We've never had a case refused, shall I say. So every time we look at a property, so give me an example, there's lots of plots of land that I've looked at, and I said, Ken, I think we can get this. He goes off and plots it. He comes back to me, and then I say, and we make some amendments together. We apply for planning, and Ken liaises with the planner. As a result of that, we get the planning permission granted within circa 8 to 12 weeks. And again, Ken is one of these proactive guys that will not just wait for the planner to call him back. He'll be on the planner's case, say, guys, okay, we submitted plans on Monday. You've had them for 24, 48 hours, or even 72 hours. Have you looked at them? If so, are there any amendments? Let me know so I can get them back into you the same day, or if not the next day, and let's get this approved. I've done this is a while back, and this is quite well documented actually in some of my magazines that I've wrote in. I think it's 2012, 2013, maybe slightly later, maybe 2015. Can't remember the dates. That we bought, when I say we bought, I bought a funeral directors. And when I bought it, straight away my business partner said we bought a bad deal. And I didn't believe that. I believed we bought a great deal. We bought it prior to auction for £100,000. And I said to my architect, I said, we can put another floor on this because we bought a 2-story building where all the other ones surrounding me were 3-story. And I said to him, we can put another floor on this. Also, we can keep commercial on the ground floor where the funeral directors were, and we can build some apartments above. And I said to him, let's see if we can get circa around 10 apartments in there. Now, remember, I only paid 100 grand for this site. Everyone was scared of it. Everyone was scared of the site because it was dilapidated. It's in a really busy section. Now, off the back of that, Ken went and did my drawings for commercial on the ground floor, 10 apartments above. We submitted that to the council. And then Ken kept liaising with them. They said, Ken, we think 10's a bit optimistic. Why don't we drop it down to 8? We still did our figures. Obviously, remember, I only paid 100 grand for the site. And then with 8 apartments above commercial on the ground floor. Now, because we liaised with the planning team in the local authority, they even allowed us to have 6 2-bedroom houses to the rear of the site. So now that took our value. Remember, I paid £100,000 for the site. The actual value of the site now was the best part of 1.6 million gross development value, GDV. So in theory, that site was worth the best part of £500,000. We had the option of building it. We had the option of selling it. We had the option of lots of, building and renting, building and selling. We had so many options. And then my business partner said, I didn't see what you saw until he could see it on paper. And we had that planning permission granted. Even throughout planning, he kept saying, Arsh, this is not going to get refused. You've over engineered the site and you've got too many units on the site. And I said, no. I said, because what we did, once we got the planning, I instantly sold it to another developer for 330,000. And we made 230,000 without putting a spade in the ground. All we did is that I did some drawings from my architect, And that took approximately circa 6 to 8 months. So it took a bit of time, and it, owed me 100 grand, but it actually worked out really well because we made 230,000 profit on 100,000 purchase. Would you do that deal? In hindsight, everyone would say yes. Would you be risky enough to do that deal from the outset? I could do that because I had all the right people in place. I had the builders in place that showed me the build cost. I had the architect in place who put together the right scheme. I had the mortgage advisor. I didn't use him on this one because it was a derelict building. I bought it for cash, but I had my solicitor on board who did the transaction quickly. Now, moving on to accountants. Accountants, again, for me, they have to be very property specific. I don't go to a factory. I go to someone that knows property, preferably a property investor themselves. And the reason why I do that is because I want to make sure that we're utilizing all the allowances that we have possible. If you're a HMO, the repair or renew, we need to make sure that we're utilizing as much as that. So we're not paying, we're making sure that we're tax efficient if you want to put it in the best possible way. And if you go to a normal accountant, they may not really understand all the allowances that property investors are allowed to get access to. And therefore you could be paying more tax than what you're actually required to do so. So on the day-to-day, I use an accountant. So we've got bookkeepers, we've got an accountant. So the bookkeeper does our day-to-day. We then send it off to the accountant who does our annual books. But before we actually submit our returns, I actually then send our accounts or our drafted accounts to a property tax advisor, property tax specialist. And this guy then goes through it and says, okay, I understand what your accountant's done, but he hasn't utilized this allowance or he hasn't utilized that allowance. And then the accountant and the tax advisor look at it and then they start to streamline it again. So yes, I'm paying a little bit more in fees, but the more that I'm paying in fees, I'm actually saying double in tax. So, it is a massive benefit for doing that. So if you have got a decent portfolio or even if you're starting, these are people that you need to have in your team. Then finally, let's go on to maintaining the property. Now, I should mention one thing. Your solicitor and your tax advisors and your accountant should be really clued up when it comes to stamp duty. And this is a massive, massive tip for anyone that's listening. The reason why I say that, I'll give you an example. I was buying a block of flats in 2017, 2018, and there was a block of 30 apartments in one street, 4 houses next door to each other. So each house had apartments. So I went to my solicitor and I said to him, what's the stamp duty on this? And he goes, okay, I need to look into this a little bit more detail because we've got residential rates. We've then got commercial rates because we're buying more than 5 units. But then also we've got multi-dwellings relief as well. So as a result of my accountant said we had to pay residential rates. My tax advisor was saying we had to pay commercial rates. My solicitor, on the other hand, was what I would call the knight in shining armor, because he said we can utilize all 3. And as a result of that, he checked it out with the guys at HMRC. And in actual fact, we only ended up paying 1% because we were buying multi-dwellings in multi-buildings, and we could use the commercial rates as well as multi-dwellings relief. We actually only paid 1% of the building. And I think off memory, the purchase price combined was around 800,000, and we actually only ended up paying 8 grand in tax, in stamp duty, should I say, as opposed to the best part of 60 grand. Again, these people save you money. They're a little bit more expensive than the factories or the one-man bands, but these guys will be the ones that will be watching out for your backside every step of the way. So don't just take one person's advice. It may annoy people that the fact that you're asking multiple people about the same subject. However, think of what's it going to do for you. Now, if I went just with what my accountant said, I would have been out of pocket by the best part, 60 odd grand, 70 grand. If I went with my solicitor, I probably would have been out of my pocket as well. But as a combination of the 3 of them, We checked everything with HMRC. There was an email thread from us to HMRC. HMRC checked our transaction thoroughly. They came back and said, off the back of everything that you've told us, and the solicitor provided that information, not me, the solicitor provided the information, according to everything that he's transacted for the transaction, they said, yes, you only have to pay 1%. So again, saves us a shed load of money. And these guys save you money. They are a little bit more expensive and you will pay more for them, but they will save you a lot in the long run. Now, finally, going on to maintaining the property. You've bought the property. Yeah, congratulations, you own the property. Now, you need people on the ground. First of all, you need the letting agent, the person that is most important, that's going to keep the property occupied, get the money coming in so that you've got enough to pay the mortgage and all the outgoings. So they've got to be key. They've got to make sure that they understand the property, they understand the market, they understand the kind of client that you're going for, they understand how to market the property strategically. So are they just sticking it on Rightmove and waiting for everyone to come to the door? Or are they actually out there approaching people? Are they approaching companies? Are they approaching people on Spare Room? Are they approaching people on Gumtree? Where are they advertising it? Are they giving it full exposure? So again, when you're looking at a letting agent, ask all these questions. Ask how many other properties they've got on their books that are similar to your kind of stock. The reason why I ask that, very simply, is because how many properties is your property going to be competing with? So that's a little tip for you. Other people that you need a builder and you need a maintenance team. And the reason why I say that is because from time to time, things will happen and you need someone on tap, pretty much on tap, where something happens, you can pick up the phone to them. And I've got guys called Paddy, I've got a guy called Neil, I've got a guy called Alan, I've got a guy called Steve, I've got what's the carpet guy called James. I've got all these people that I've got a guy called Amos, got a guy called Ammo. And so all these, so we've got a gas plumber, we've got a carpet guy, we've got a maintenance guy, we've got a general, I don't call him dog's body, that's not very nice, but general runaround. I've got electricians, I've got multiple gas plumbers because multiple properties may go down at the same time, especially in winter for boilers, etc. I've got Mark. So these are all people that I can call and say, guys, okay, I've got an issue here, can you deal with it? And these are also guys that are happy to, deal with stuff within 24 hours. If it's a boiler, they'll attend to it the same day. If it's something like a leaky tap or a broken toilet, we can get to it. And we've created a structure. So it's almost like a hazard list. So what's category A? What's category B? What's category C? And if it's category A, they know they need to deal with it quickly. So you've got to have that rapport with them. And you've got to, the one thing I say to you is never slack on paying these people, because these are the guys that keep it turning around. If the property falls into bad repair, it means that you get less rent. You get less rent, you get less desirable tenants. So you've got to make sure that your properties are spick and span. Now, finally, I would say this, and this is probably an uncommon one, make sure you've got good wholesalers on board. So don't always just rely on going to B&Q and Wickes. And these guys, B&Q and Wickes, are great for, one-offs. But you want wholesalers where you get stuff at a discount. So you want plumbing wholesalers, electrical wholesalers, building merchants. And just give me an example. In lockdown, in COVID-19, I had an unfortunate circumstance where one of my rooms in my HMO, so we've got like mini studios, caught fire due to the result of the tenant. Luckily, all the fire alarm went off and the fire door did its job and everything. So it contained it in that one room, but it's burnt it to a crisp. All the other tenants were fine. However, that happened at almost like 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, admittedly, I got the call, I went out, saw the fire brigade, etc. Fire brigade were very complimentary on how all the other tenants acted, how the fire alarm system was all up to scratch, and it did its job, kept everyone safe, no one died, no one got hurt. However, at 2 o'clock in the morning, admittedly, I text all the people. I text the electrician. I said, Paddy, I need you here at 9 o'clock in the morning so that we can get this fire alarm back up and running. Any faults, get it sorted. I needed the builder to come and block off the broken windows and the door so that we can get the work. And I had everyone there for 9 o'clock. More importantly, I called a lot of the wholesalers who were shut. I said, guys, I wouldn't normally call you because I appreciate COVID, lockdown, etc. But I've got an emergency. I've got an emergency where I've had a fire and I need some materials to get this property back up and running. And believe it or not, the electrical wholesaler opened up, the plumbing merchant opened up just for me. So they said, Arsh, get here for 10 o'clock. I'm going to leave the shutters down. Just knock on the shutters or call me when you're outside. I'll give you what you need, and that's it. And I did this with the builder merchants. I did this with the plumbers and the electrical. And, you know, for me, that was pretty much a pat on the back for 20 years of paying these guys on time, paying the builders on time, and everyone's happy to help you. And that's how I can maintain and keep building a portfolio, because I know I've got these people in the background that are going to be doing all this work for me. Should anything happen, I can sleep at night knowing that I've got good people in good places who will do good things for me. So there you go, guys. Hopefully you've learned a fair bit about my power team today. So I've got lots of people that I can call on. Now, my question is, have you got the same kind of structure? If not, now's the time to start building it. You know, especially when we're going into recession and stuff like that, people will be desperate for work. Start reaching out to them, seeing what they're doing, see how you can build that relationship with them. So hopefully you've enjoyed the session. Hopefully you've taken a lot away. This is the longest session that I've ever done on the podcast, by the way. So hopefully you've enjoyed the session. Hopefully you've taken a load away from it. More importantly, if you like what you've heard and you want further education, you can catch me, Arsh on YouTube, where I've got hundreds of videos similar, giving away completely free tips. So you can search for me on YouTube. You can also find me on social media channels such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And then finally, my question is that if you're still looking for property deals, have you downloaded the Property Investor app? It's the UK's first property investment platform, marketplace, which showcases property deals all over the UK. We've got over 200 deals on the app ready for you to view. So we've got below market value deals, rent to rent deals, lease option deals, development opportunities, and these have all been sourced, packaged and appraised by my team. So if you like the thought of that and you're looking for your next deal, download the app. Go to propertyinvestораpp.co.uk, or if you've got a smartphone, literally if you've got an Apple or Android phone, go to your iOS or Google Play App Store and type in Property Investor, and you'll see the app there. It's completely free for you to download, and it'll take you 2 minutes to register, and you'll see everything in the palm of your hand. On that note, guys, I wish you all to be safe and well. Hopefully you've enjoyed the session, and I'll speak to you all very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
The large majority of people make a positive change if they take immediate action. So act now. Download the Property Investor app and join Arsh on his social media channels to excel your property journey.